If you have a hard time with rendering, it basically means you have a hard time with indicating form, or we at least call it indicating form. And primarily what it is you have a hard time with creating three-dimensionality to a 2D object. That's essentially what it is. And the reason for this often is because you separate the rendering part from the form part. So you learn about perspective, you learn about form. Hopefully by now you've learned about form manipulation through the Artwod Intro to Drawing Road. And now you're going to start rendering and you suddenly complicate it with like everything lighting related, like light shadow mapping, ambient occlusion, form shadows, blah, blah, blah. So you're instantly super confused, and naturally so. However, if you tend to treat it at first, like your first sort of intro to rendering, this is exactly what we do in the Intro to Drawing Road as well, is instead of looking at this muscle and now trying to identify sort of the shadow shapes and all of these complicated things, just consider it as a cylinder and then see, how do I indicate the contour lines on a cylinder? And then I just stay away from the light area. And by doing that, I've already indicated volume. That's how easy it is. And it's the same for this deltoid. Like, let's just draw it as a sphere. Let's just treat it as a sphere and then just indicate with form lines, which is basically following the contour lines of a sphere onto that and indicate the form that way. So that's what I'm doing here. And while it might not be perfect, I'll already get closer to indicating believability and three-dimensionality in this object. And that's literally, for me at least, that's still how I do it. That's how I think about rendering. I just indicate form. So I just follow the contour lines of the simplified versions of these objects and then just indicate them with like some nice design or line variation in different areas. And that's how I render everything. I don't think too much at all times about all of these complicated things about light and shadow. Of course, if you want to get more into the painterly routes, you eventually need to get into that. But when it comes to drawing, I wouldn't overcomplicate it. I would just think about indicating form.